Welcome to QC Crime Watch. This is Linda Cook.
And I'm Sharon Wren.
And we're both crime reporters here at Our Quad Cities News. And we're bringing you the most recent stories that we've written and the most recent stories we're following. We don't have time to bring them all, but we have a few here that we thought would interest you.
And by the way, neither one of us are attorneys, so don't ask us for legal advice.
Mine are what I would call perhaps more, how do I say this, smaller incidents. Both of them are a little bit, one of them especially was a threat. But I'll start with this one. This is interesting just because of the situation. Police arrested a 25-year-old Davenport man after an incident with a 15-year-old at a school where he used to work as a security guard.
Oh my.
I know. Noah Garcia faces a charge of lascivious conduct with a minor. Now this happened, or at least the report happened in December. And at the time of the incident, Garcia was a security guard at Central, and that's where this teenager was a student. Now, the arrest affidavits, which are official documents that are used in court, show that Garcia persuaded the victim, who was 15 at the time, to partially disrobe. Garcia has been released on a $1,000 cash bond from Scott County Jail, and his arraignment, that's where you plead guilty or not guilty, that will be on February 13th in Scott County Court. This is not considered to be, or at least at the time of this podcast, this is not considered to be a felony. But because of the situation, we thought you would like to know about it. The principal of the school sent a statement to families involved with Central that Garcia no longer works at Central or for the district, and I'll read part of that. The staff member is no longer employed at Central or with Davenport Schools. The former staff member has been arrested. Because this is an ongoing investigation, we cannot comment further on the incident, the statement continues. However, this situation is understandably concerning for our Central family. We want you to know that administration takes all incident reports seriously and works swiftly with district administration and the Davenport Police Department to respond and investigate all alleged incidents. The safety and security of all students is a priority at Central High School, and we are thankful for the swift response by the Davenport Police. So I think this is an incident that we don't hear about a lot, this kind of thing, because it is considered a small, it's not a violent crime, right, obviously. But I think it would do us all to remember that people who are teenagers are still considered minors, still considered not old enough to make choices for themselves, and that if you hear something like this, talk to the child involved or say something to someone. It's very important for the safety of everybody.
Exactly. Well, we have an update on a story that we talked about last week. We told you about how the Moline Police Department was looking for a man in connection with the theft of 65 memorial plaques from along Ben Butterworth Parkway in Moline. Police identified a suspect, and the suspect, Jesse Hayes, turned himself in the next day and has a preliminary hearing on January 21st.
Coming up. What was he doing with these, Sharon?
He was scrapping them for the brass and got $600 from these 65 plaques, and some of these had been in place for 30 years in memory of somebody.
And it's terrible for the families and the friends of the folks who put these memorials there and remembered these individuals as, they were in this area. But scrapping, and I'm going to say illegal scrapping, right, is one of those things that we have done a lot of stories about when it involves copper wire. So this is just the same story in
different metal.
Right, with a different metal.
But we'll be following that case as it goes through the system.
Okay. Now, this is an odd situation. I'm sure there's a lot more to it than what I could glean from the court records. A 44-year-old man faces felony charges after police say he broke into a home and threatened a victim with his own gun. Okay. So Elijah Hoyt is the person who was arrested, and I won't read the charges, but there are several. This happened last weekend when police went to the 4100 block of East Rusholme Street, and they say that Hoyt entered an unoccupied residence, and in the arrest affidavits, it says that Hoyt gained entrance to the residence by breaking the glass of the front door. So,
that'll do it.
Well, the damage to the door is about $3,000, so he did quite a bit of damage there. He stayed in the house until the victim returned home. And then Hoyt, who had armed himself with one of the victim's handguns that he found inside the residence, pulled it on the victim and told him to get out of the house. And the victim was afraid he was going to be shot, so he left his own house and called 911. Hoyt was still in the house when police came and saw him leaving through the front door before he was arrested. Hoyt was in custody when police found the victim's car keys in his pocket, get this, along with several folding knives that also belonged to the victim.
Oh, dear.
So this is an unusual situation. He has a preliminary hearing coming up next week. And of course, we will just continue to follow this until we can give you more details.
And on another rather odd case, a fellow from Davenport was recently arrested after Bettendorf police say he stole a car and eluded them. Happens all the time. Sometimes we hear of somebody eluding at very, very fast speeds.
Right.
Sometimes it's just a little over the speed limit. This one is unusual because the driver allegedly hit a house and destroyed a porch.
Ugh.
So on January 13th, a Bettendorf police officer saw a vehicle doing 55 in a 40 zone. He tried to initiate a traffic stop. The car did not stop, reached speeds of 86 miles an hour in a 40 zone. Then it turned northbound onto Pershing and drove westbound into the eastbound lanes of traffic. Now, at some point in all this, the vehicle lost control, hit the front porch of a home in the 400 block of Kirkwood. The driver, who was later identified as Marvin Hughes, fled on foot. The officer used a taser, which didn't work.
Oh, dear.
And he was finally able to take Hughes into custody using what they call hands-on force. So they took the gentleman to the hospital.
Okay.
And a nurse saw him pull a plastic bag out of his pants pocket and throw it in the trash. Well, guess what? That bag, allegedly, because there's no conviction, it's alleged,
right,
contained 0.33 grams of methamphetamine, and there was a broken glass pipe with meth residue found next to the bag in the trash.
I knew this was drug-related.
The vehicle was reported stolen out of Silvis. Now, Mr. Hughes does not have a valid driver's license in any state. The home sustained significant structural damage. The porch completely collapsed, and damages are estimated over $10,000. He was charged with a whole bunch of things, but the felonies are first-degree mischief, felony eluding, and felony second-degree theft. He's being held on a secured $10,000 bond and has a preliminary hearing on January 23rd.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of noteworthy things.
There are. And here's the thing, the drugs make people make such bad decisions, and I'm hoping that this might be one of those cases where once he gets his mind cleared, that he can go back to a better life and make better decisions.
Right. So we're hoping that for him. We also have an update in the extremely complex legal case involving the collapse of the Davenport building in May 2023. The plaintiffs have filed what they're calling a petition to appoint receiver and a constructive trust.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the suit says that Andrew Wold and his companies schemed to sell properties he owned to liquidate assets so the plaintiffs couldn't collect. The suit says since the collapse, Wold has sold 20 of the 22 properties he owned in Davenport for what the suit described as not, quote, reasonably equivalent value, end quote, meaning they were sold for less than market value, sometimes substantially less.
Right.
Now, 18 of these properties sold for a total of $1,818,800, but were valued by the assessor's office at $2,396,990, or a difference of about $600,000. That's quite the difference.
That's a big difference.
Yes. So the plaintiffs are asking the court to appoint a receiver who is a neutral third party appointed by a judge to manage and keep possession of property that's the subject of a lawsuit.
Right.
The property would be placed in a constructive trust which holds property that belongs to someone else.
Right.
Now, this was a 17-page filing, which isn't even close to the biggest filing we've seen in this case, but it's the only one so far in 2025, and there's no date for a hearing on this petition.
Right. And the one thing I wanted to add, you and I kind of sort of researched this together.
We've been with this since the beginning.
A long time. This is not considered a crime, but we're bringing it to you because it's going through the courts. This is a civil suit right now.
Right.
But it's not considered like a violent crime or so incidents in courts are sorted out differently, categorized differently. This is categorized differently than the other incidents we've talked about today, but it is still going through the courts and probably will continue for quite some time. So Sharon is the one who has been really on top of this and searching, even on busy days when we have other things to follow. She found this, and so then we did a story together, and you can read that story and the details.
And all the details at ourquadcities.com. That's all the time we have this week for Quad Cities Crime Watch. Join us next time for more on the crimes that make the Quad Cities lock their doors at night.
Stay safe out there, folks.